Hi, in this video I will cover some revision tips for your test on statistics, looking at mean, median, range and group data, including percentages, spreadsheet formula and angles in pie charts. Alongside this, you should be very familiar with the brevet questions that we've shared in class and also did as homework. So make sure you review those and go through all of those styles of questions, because that is going to be the best revision you can do for this short test. So as a reminder, the most important things are mean, median and range. Mean is the average where you add everything up and divide by the number of things that you've added. Okay. Then the median is the middle value after you have put them in order. If you don't put the numbers in order, you will not be able to identify the median. Median is the one that is in the middle. The example here, we've got 6 numbers, therefore there are 2 numbers in the middle. If you get that situation, then you add the 2 numbers and you divide by 2. So you basically will find the mean of the 2 middle values. And range is not an average. Range is a measure of spread. Range is the difference between the largest and the smallest values in your set of data. So you'll get questions often like this one, where there is data presented in a table. Here's a very short table. Here you have the medals won by the top 5 ranking nations in an Olympic or Paralympic Games. Now, it's presented like this, and if you see a table such as this where you have A, B, C, D, E and so on at the top, and each line is then numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, this represents a spreadsheet. And you can be guaranteed to get a spreadsheet type question involving a formula for it. I'll cover that in a second. The simple questions will be fill in any missing values. So here, for example, there's a missing value for the USA, the total number of medals here, and for the Netherlands, the missing number of silver medals there. It's fairly easy to do. That the total number of medals for USA is 37 plus 36 plus 31. Do not add the ranking score and do not add the number for the row. So it's literally these 3 numbers added together. And we add those 3 numbers together. I think we get an answer of 104. And then for the missing score for the Netherlands here, it would be these 3 values add to make 59. So 59 subtract 17, subtract 25 gives us the missing value. And I think if you work this one through, you should get a missing value of 17. Now, they might ask a question such as, what is the mean number of gold medals? So the mean number of gold, we look at the number of gold medals for the top 5 nations. So it's 96, 41, 37, 36 and 25. So to work out the mean, you're going to do the total of those medals. So you're going to do 96 plus 41 plus 37 plus 36 plus 25. All of that divided by the number of countries who you've added up, which is 5. And that's going to give you, I think, something like 235 over 5, which equals 47 gold medals. And that is the mean number of medals just for the top 5 nations. It might ask you for the median, and in this case it could be the median of the bronze medals. Now, for the median of bronze, we have to take the values for the bronze, which are 51, 30, 45, 31, 49 and 17, and put them in order first. So you cannot use the order that we're given. If you look, these are clearly mixed up. So put them in order. The smallest one would be 17, then we go 31, 45, 49 and 51. So to identify the middle value, one way of doing it is just to cross off 1 from each end, 1 from each end, and eventually we're in the middle. There's only 1 value in the middle, so 45 is clearly the median. So 45 bronze medals is our median number of bronze medals for the top 5 nations. Now, I mentioned about formulae. They might ask you for what would the instruction be that you would type into your spreadsheet to calculate, for example, the 207. Now, 207 is the total medals, so it is clearly this one plus this one plus this one. So on a spreadsheet, what you would do is all formulas begin with equals. So the first thing you'd write is equals, and then sum, because we're going to add these values up. Then open bracket. Now the first one we want to add is C2, and the last one we want to add is E2, and we want all of the values in between, which in this case is just D2. So my first value is C2, so it's C2, then a colon, and then E2, and that's the instruction to the spreadsheet, closing that with a bracket there. That instruction then is saying add up all the values from C2 to E2. So that's C2, D2, and E2. So that would be the, I'll put a little blob here. That would be the one that goes into this box here. Now, it could work the other way. It could be working out the sum of the number of silver medals, for example. We might do how many silver medals are all added together. So we would have another, maybe we had an extra line in here. How would we add up going down? Well, it's exactly the same thing as what we've just done. I'll do this one in green. So if I wanted the value, I'll put a little triangle there and say, what is the sum of the silver medals? It would be equals sum, open bracket. Now the first value would be the 60 for China, so that's D2. So D2 colon to the last one, which is the Netherlands, which is D6 to D6. Oops, got that wrong. D6, close the bracket, and that's telling the spreadsheet add the values from D2 to D6. D2 and D6 are in the same column, so it would just add up all of these values. So another question they might ask is you to find the difference between the number of total medals that China won and the Netherlands won. So that's quite a simple question. We're just going to be doing 207 and write the calculation down, minus 59, and that gives us a number of 148 medals. That's the difference between China and the Netherlands totals. And then they might say, what does that actually represent? And that's your stats part of this in a way, because what that represents is that's the range. Okay, so 148 medals is the range of values, or the range of medals won in total by the top 5 countries. So it's just a different way of asking the range. Rather than saying work out the range, they want you to be able to interpret that actually that's what the range is. So that's all the question would be. Now, moving on, you might get data in a table like this. And this is just showing 3 months worth of data of number of cars traveling through a toll booth, for example. And the sort of thing they might ask here is, what's the percentage of, within these 3 months, of the total number of passages, what's the percentage of passages that were made in March, for example? So we want the percentage, or let's go February actually. Let's go percentage of February. February's the biggest one here. Well, so what's the percentage of passages for February? So you could do this in several different ways. I think one of the easiest ways of doing it is just with your proportionality table. So let's just put this together very quickly here. And for this, you're going to need to add up the total number of passages for all of them. So we will need to add an extra little box at the bottom here and say, well, what's the total number for January, February, and March? If I add those 3 numbers up, I get something like 567,179. And that represents 100% of all the journeys across those 3 months. So 100% is 567,179. I'm trying to work out the percentage, so I'm going to put X for February, which is 218,464. So there's my table. You know how these work. If I'm trying to find this value here, I multiply these 2 numbers together, and then I divide by this number here. So X is going to be equal to 218,464 multiplied by 100 divided by 567,179, and if we put that into a calculator, we should get an answer of something like 38.5% of the journeys are made in February, and that's within these 3 months. Okay, something we haven't done in class, but works in a very similar way. They might ask you, if you're going to draw a pie chart, that's one of these sort of things down here. If you want to draw a pie chart, what angle would you have for one of the months? So again, we'll pick on February. So what angle would February actually have if we did the pie chart? Obviously, the pie chart would have only 3 sections for this particular set of data because there's only 3 months. But it works in the same way. You can actually do it in exactly the same way as your proportionality table. So we want the angle for February. So do another little proportionality table, like so. And this time we have our total number of passages, which is 5, 6, 7, 1, 7, 9. And instead of representing a 100%, this can represent 360 degrees because that's the total number of degrees in a circle. I want to find my angle for February, so I'm going to call that Y. And February, as we know, is 2, 1, 8, 4, 6, 4. So I have a proportionality table which works in exactly the same way as before. So Y will be equal to 2, 1, 8, 4, 6, 4, multiplied by, in this case, 360, divided by the total number of passages for the 3 months. So 5, 6, 7, 1, 7, 9. And I'll work that out on a calculator, and I get 138.7 degrees. So that's the angle you would measure if you were drawing a pie chart. You won't be drawing a pie chart for the test, but you will be asked to calculate one of the angles for a piece of data. The final thing to remember is something we did in the very first lesson this year on statistics. We saw an image like this, where we had the masses of 5 dogs, and then we added Clifford, the big red dog, to the group. And we worked out the mean and the median. The mean here works out to be approximately 340 kilograms, and the median works out to be 9.5 kilograms. The range, of course, is not an average, so it's not relevant for this particular question. And the question was, which is the better form of average to represent the data? Is it the mean or the median? Now, you must remember that an average is just a value to represent an entire set of data. So you're summarizing all of the data with one number. If we were to choose the mean in this situation, you've got a value of 340, which is far, far greater than 5 of the dogs, which is the majority of the number of dogs. So the mean is not representative of the data. The median is representative of the data because 9.5 kilograms is really close to 5 of the dogs. There's 5 small ones. So in this case, the median would be the better average to use to represent the data because its value is closer to the majority of the dogs in the group. The large dog, Clifford, is actually skewing the data and it makes it, not suitable for the mean. Okay, so the mean would be absolutely useless here. Median would be the best one. So really think about, if you have an interpretation question, which is the type of average you want and why is it better? And normally it's the one that is closest to the majority of the figures. Okay, in this case, I say it is the median. Do make sure you go through all the brevet questions that we've shared on Classroom and you did for homework. If you have any other questions, please do drop me a line on Google Classroom.